Before we get into today's edition of Just the Truth, Mike Lindell sent me a note yesterday. He has a special for the 6-piece towel set, $25 when you use promo code Joey. Just go to mypillow.com, use promo code Joey. You'll get the $25 offer on the 6-piece towel set, and I promise you, these will be the most comfortable, the most absorbent towels that you own. mypillow.com, use promo code Joey, get the 6-piece towel set for just $25. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition Studio. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. Wow, what an evening last night. What are you going to talk about today? Debate. What else can we talk about today? We have the highlights for you. Did we witness the end of Joe Biden last night? Love to get your comments. We're going to jump into that in just a moment. Legislators were back in Columbia on Wednesday. State leaders were able to accomplish two major things. They agreed on changes to how South Carolina picks judges, which will allow for more candidates to be considered for judgeship and give the governor influence over the process as well. Also, legislators passed a $14.5 billion state spending package that cuts income taxes, increases states' employees' salaries, and freezes tuition at public colleges in South Carolina for the 6th consecutive year. McDonald's plant-based burger flopped in 2 American test markets, according to McDonald's USA President Joe Erlinger. Guess which 2 cities they tested the new burger in?
I told you we'd be back.
And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free.
It's Joey Hudson.
I wanted to name it the Joey Hudson bill, but, they don't allow you to put names on bills. But I wanted to call it the Joey Hudson bill because I know that one's been near and dear to you for a number of years.
That's how it's done. Let your voice be heard.
And the truth shall set you free.
Here's Joey Hudson.
This one exchange during last night's CNN televised debate probably sums up Joe Biden's evening.
Make sure that all those things we need to do, child care, elder care, making sure that we continue to strengthen our health care system, making sure that we're able to make every single solitary person eligible for what I've been able to do with the with the COVID, with dealing with everything we have to do with, look, if we finally beat Medicare.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump?
Well, he's right. He did beat Medicare. He beat it to death.
So where do you go from there? President Biden froze and then had a verbal blunder, and that's being nice, saying that he beat Medicare minutes after he kicked off his debate with former President Donald Trump last night, touting the 15,000 new jobs. I think he probably meant 15 million, but who knows? The 81-year-old president was discussing his record on the economy when he appeared to lose his train of thought. Quite often throughout the evening, as Donald Trump was talking, Joe Biden was staring off into space. Of course, they kept the dual shots of the two, which allowed you to see the reaction of the other. As Trump was talking, you could see Joe Biden's reaction and vice versa. Trump made some funny faces at times, like he often does. Joe Biden just looked empty. He looked like he didn't quite know where to look, actually. At times, he was just staring off into space, like we've seen him do in recent weeks and months. The blunder that you just heard was the second of the night during his response to the first question of the debate, when he was asked about what he would say to voters who feel worse off under his presidency. Biden said, quote, "The unemployment rate rose to 15% under Trump. It was terrible. And so what we had to do is try to put things back together again." That's exactly what we began to do. This is where he then said, "We created 15,000 new jobs." Again, possibly meaning 15 million. I'm not quite sure what that number is, but we know that even Joe Biden can create more than 15,000 jobs. Biden's ability to misspeak has resulted in more than 150 adjustments to official White House transcripts of his remarks this year alone, including 9 in one day after he delivered a gaffe-riddled speech to the NAACP in Detroit just a few weeks back. Remember that? The commander-in-chief referred to the NAACP as the NAAC, called Capitol rioters erectionists, announced that he was humbled to receive this organization he meant award, and said he was vice president during the pandemic during that particular slip-up spree. I knew things were going bad when he started bragging about his golf handicap, in which Trump challenged him to a round of golf. Maybe rather than another debate, these two men should square off in a round of golf. Wouldn't you love to see Joe Biden out playing golf beside Donald Trump? They were even bragging about the distance of their drive. I doubt Joe Biden could even hit the golf ball. Even Biden's liberal friends in the media couldn't spin his performance last night, and I think that's the very telling sign. That's the takeaway from last night, is even his buddies at CNN, at MSNBC, at all the other networks who typically are going out of their way to try to spin Joe Biden, they couldn't even do it last night. In fact, they looked dejected. CNN contributor Van Jones appeared almost as if he were depressed, on the verge of tears, as he was asked to weigh in immediately after the debate between Trump and Biden ended. This was literally minutes afterwards. Former Trump official Alyssa Farah Griffin also spoke in this same exchange and drove the point home, saying that Biden lost in the first 3 minutes. Here's the exchange between the two.
He didn't do well at all. He did not do well at all. And he looked, I'll give you the analysis. You kind of have the old man versus the con man. I can walk you through how I'm supposed to see it and say it, but I just want to speak from my heart. I love that guy. That's a good man. He loves his country. He's doing the best that he can. But he had a test to meet tonight to restore confidence of the country and of the base, and he failed to do that. And I think there's a lot of people who are going to want to see him consider taking a different course now. We're still far from our convention, and there is time for this party to figure out a different way forward if he will allow us to do that. But that was not what we needed from Joe Biden, and it's personally painful for a lot of people. It's not just panic, it's pain for what we saw tonight.
And if I may just add to that, I think Joe Biden lost in the first 3 minutes. I think a lot of voters probably tuned out, and millions of people are having conversations with their families, with their friends, of if the president is up to the task and if he should step aside. And I'm someone who believes the former president is a threat to democracy. I think he is a threat to the America as we know it. He wants to fundamentally change our institutions. He has laid out what his plan is. I am not confident that that is the man to take him on. You cannot tell me democracy is on the line and then give that performance tonight. If based on that, in 18 weeks, Donald Trump will be the president-elect.
The people.
Now, again, these were his friends. These are people who traditionally support Joe Biden. I mean, there was even open discussion last night within minutes of this debate ending of Biden dropping out. Again, from people who are typically finding a way to spin for Joe Biden, they couldn't do it. Several MSNBC hosts reporting last night that members of President Joe Biden's circle, his inner circle, the Democrat Party, were panicked at his performance during the debate. Following the debate, MSNBC host Rachel Maddow noted it was hard to hear what he was saying because his voice was so weak. MSNBC host Nicole Wallace then revealed her phone conversations during and after the debate among Democrat operatives who she said were panicked.
Yeah, I mean, I was on the phones for some of it after that became clear, and there is a conversation happening inside Biden's circle, and certainly a much more frank conversation happening inside the Democratic coalition. And I think there will be stories of a lot of concern about the performance tonight. And I think when you say conversations happening, what do you mean? I think people are talking. I think the conversations range from whether he should be in this race tomorrow morning to what was wrong with him. I mean, he has a cold that came out. Our own Kelly O'Donnell reported that a few minutes in, but exactly what you articulated. Negative COVID test, but a cold. Right. So those things were, I mean, the reason reporters were reporting on the cold was because of what you articulated. I mean, the voice was very, very soft. It wasn't the Joe Biden performance of the State of the Union. It wasn't seizing a moment to get on the offensive on immigration. It wasn't Joe Biden on the offensive on January 6th. It wasn't Joe Biden on the offensive on abortion, his two, shining issues. It was exactly what Chris Hayes predicted. It was Trump moderating not just tonally, but sounding less crazy as he lied as often as he breathed. The debate moderators did not fact check one thing, but they did give Joe Biden time to fact check, and he didn't do much of that either. It is not our job to tell people what to see and hear, but I think what I heard from a Biden aide is we can't necessarily spin too much what people did see and hear.
And that's their problem, because the entire nation, the entire world was watching this. They could see Joe Biden. They could hear Joe Biden. And it was not a pretty sight. What do you think? Is Joe Biden done? How long does it take the Democrats to replace him? Do they wait till the convention in Chicago, or is that process already underway now? Do they do it prior to the time they even get to the convention? And the bigger question is, who is it? Who do they replace him with? It can't be Kamala. Hope you'll join the conversation today. 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Send your comments to the Furman Ford text line. You can leave a quick voice message, and your emails are always welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. Soon going to be 4 years ago that I started my journey with PhD weight loss and nutrition. I lost 30 pounds pretty quickly, I might add, and I've been able to maintain that for almost 4 years now. It'll be 4 years coming up in July. If this is the year that you have decided that you're going to get healthy, that you're going to lose that weight, that visceral fat that's so damaging around your waist, then now's the time to start. Let me encourage you to make that call today. 864-252-4925. Set up your initial consultation with PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition. Boy, am I glad that I met Dr. Ashley Lucas 4 years ago, and that she got me on the right path to getting healthy. You're going to be able to do things that you may have thought you'd never be able to do again. Play with the kids, the grandkids, be able to hike and walk, and maybe play a full 18-round hole of golf and be able to do it and not get so winded. Because when you take that excess weight off, you're just going to feel better. You're going to be able to focus. You're going to be able to sleep better. Your overall health is just going to be improved. 864-252-4925. Call, set up your initial consultation. Find them online at myphdweightloss.com. PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition, the official partner of the Clemson Tigers.
Make sure that all those things we need to do, child care, elder care, making sure that we continue to strengthen our healthcare system, making sure that we're able to make every single solitary person eligible for what I've been able to do with the with the COVID, with dealing with everything we have to do with, look, if we finally beat Medicare.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump?
Well, he's right. He did beat Medicaid, beat it to death.
That was within minutes of last night's debate between President Joe Biden and President Donald Trump. And that immediately led to Democrats starting to call for Joe Biden to step aside. Calls for Biden to drop out of the race were loud and clear after his performance last night. If the powers that be in the DNC were wanting to get rid of old Joe Biden by putting him on that debate stage last night before the Democrat convention later in the summer, they succeeded, if that was their motive. Some very prominent Democrats are beginning to question whether Biden should be replaced as the Democrat nominee. It doesn't take much searching to find editorials and columns already calling for Biden to surrender. They were popping up within minutes of the debate ending last night, some even starting during the debate. One such is written by Colby Hall, who is the founding editor of Mediaite. He's a Peabody Award-winning television producer and nonfiction narrative programming. At 10:40 p.m. last night, minutes after the debate had ended, headlines on Mediaite, Biden should drop out. Now, you should know that Mediaite is a somewhat liberal organization. They like to promote themselves as being unbiased, middle of the road, but that's not the real case. So Colby Hall writes, I have long opposed calls for President Joe Biden to drop out. I no longer do. His performance at Thursday night's debate proved he is not fit to be president, let alone finish an arduous campaign. Within the first 15 minutes of the CNN debate, it was abundantly clear that Biden was not up to the task. His raspy voice, perhaps from too much debate prep, was disastrous for viewers who tuned in with an open mind about the state of the 81-year-old commander-in-chief. He lost his train of thought in the 14th minute of the debate before feebly declaring, "We defeated Medicare." Democratic officials and progressive pundits have sounded the alarm about the future of the United States should Trump win in 2024. Democracy itself is on the line, he writes. If the circumstances are so dire, how did the power brokers within the DNC let us get to the end of June before the nation could fully see how much Biden has aged in just the last 3.5 years? He goes on to write, we've been told that Biden is sharp as a tack and fully engaged in closed-door meetings at the White House, though his lack of interviews or press conferences have raised suspicions. Expectations for Biden at the debate could not have been lower, and yet he did not pass that very low bar. Hall goes on to say, to be clear, this is not an endorsement of former President Donald Trump, a duplicitous con man who prioritizes his own personal benefit over unifying the nation he wants to lead again. If I had my druthers, Trump would also drop out, and a more reasonable Republican nominee with traditional conservative bona fides would step up to serve the country. But it's clear that the GOP power structure is now founded entirely on fealty to Trump. The Republican primary proved that. Senator Lindsey Graham famously said of Biden in 2015 that he was as good a man as God ever created. That was a different political time, and Graham was engaging in loving hyperbole. While I don't agree with all of his policies, I believe Joe Biden is an empathetic and good-natured man who has faced many personal tragedies but persevered as an honorable civil servant who has served to benefit his fellow citizens. Watching him struggle to keep up with Trump's aggressive debate rhetoric, much of which was created out of the whole cloth, was painful to watch. I dare say it felt at times like elder abuse. So now they're going to start saying that Trump abused an elder because he happened to beat Joe Biden like a drum in the debate last night. He goes on to write, Biden's closest confidants need to circle the wagons and ask if all this is still worth it. Is it not better to return to the original conception of his 2020 candidacy as the guy responsible for writing the listing and divided ship that was the United States at the end of the Trump administration? Again, I warned you, this guy's liberal, but he's calling for Joe Biden to step down. He kind of wraps things up here, Colby Hall, by saying, thing is, it doesn't even matter that I'm right about whether Biden is fit to run and sound to serve. The media is going to spend the next few weeks and months relentlessly covering his age. It is now the singular issue of this campaign. It will not get better by the next debate, and it will not get better by November the 5th. Biden will wear this performance like Flava Flav wears a clock. It's over. Let Biden retire to Rehoboth Beach and choose a candidate with a fighting chance. The idea of Biden bowing out was long considered an unimaginable path, but we are living in a time where unimaginable things are happening, and Biden's geriatric performance during the CNN debate achieved one thing: making Trump the likely president of the United States come 2025. Biden can be a real hero by taking a brave and bold step and dropping out. Again, this is written by Colby Hall, the editor of Mediaite, a rather liberal organization that supposedly fact-checks the media. And they do fact-check the media, the conservative media. They have a very liberal bias. But I have to agree with him. And kudos to him to stand up to his party, to the party bosses, to have the courage to say, hey, Joe Biden needs to drop out. Joe Biden's done. Joe Biden needs to move on. Did you see anything in last night's debate that would convince you that Joe Biden is capable of even making it through a campaign to November, let alone serving 4 more years? Was there any redeeming value in Joe Biden's performance last night? Anything he said or did that you think earned him a place at the table, earned him another term in the Oval Office leading our country? Anything. If you have it, I want to hear it. Text me or email me, joey@joeyhudson.com. Whether you're replacing a broken appliance or maybe you're just upgrading, you're totally remodeling the kitchen, when it's time to get those new appliances, when you're ready for them, you don't want to have to wait weeks or even months to get started using them, right? Well, that's not the case when you shop with my friends at Discounted Appliance Warehouse. With over 11,000 square feet and 1,500 appliances at any given time, you can buy today and use today quite often. I'm talking about shopping with my friends at Discounted Appliance Warehouse in Pickens. It's worth the short drive over to Pickens. Jeff, Johnny, Kyle, the whole team over there, they'll take good care of you. They have an award-winning service department, expert installation, extended warranties, and at Discounted Appliance Warehouse, they treat you like family. You're more than just a credit card swipe to all the team over there. Discounted Appliance Warehouse, they're proud to offer Speed Queen, the only washer and dryers with manufacturer's warranties that cover parts and labor. You owe it to yourself if you're looking for a new appliance to head over to Pickens to Discounted Appliance Warehouse online at dawpickens.com, dawpickens.com. So legislators were back in Columbia on Wednesday. They were able to pass a budget and come up with some changes on how judges are elected. Let's start with the judges. Planned changes to how South Carolina judges are elected will allow more candidates to be considered for a judgeship and give the governor some influence in the process too, according to the plan that was passed and expected to be signed by Governor Henry McMaster. The final votes on the judges will be done by the full General Assembly, and it keeps the advantage with the South Carolina House. Under a compromise passed this week, and the governor seems to agree with it, the Judicial Merit Selection Commission will have term limits for members and have appointees from the governor, which has not been the case in the past. It's been made up of House members and members of the Senate. The committee will also be able to nominate more candidates for a particular judicial position. Under the current plan, they can put forth 3 names. That's been a big point of contention among legislators. When lawmakers vote on judicial appointments, a candidate only needs to win a majority of the 170 legislators, a practice that is currently in place. If the House sticks together, or even if all the Republicans in the House vote together, that means that judges can be elected by the House without any input from the state Senate. State senators aren't exactly happy about that. Election of the judges has come under scrutiny over the perception that lawmakers, many of whom are practicing attorneys, have undue influence over judges' decisions. After an initial decision to strike down a 6-week abortion law, the governor also called for more transparency in the process of choosing judges. The Senate pushed to require a candidate to receive a majority of the House and a majority of the Senate, a change that would have allowed the Senate to have more influence over the elections. Didn't quite go over, though. Wasn't approved. Senate Majority Leader Shane Massey, a Republican from Edgefield County, South Carolina, said the bill would not have moved if the Senate fought to keep the changes. He was quoted as saying, "There's so many other good reforms in that process that we weren't going to let it die because of that." I do think, however, that the process that we use is problematic. I mean, in fact, many of the House members will tell you you don't even need to talk to the senators. The House elects judges, and that's because of the way the format is. So I don't like the format, but there are too many other good reforms in that package that I didn't want to let die because of it. South Carolina is one of 2 states that has its legislature elect judges. Ultimately, we couldn't reach perfect consensus on that and decided that we would leave existing state law, said House Judiciary Chairman Wes Newton from Beaufort. When lawmakers vote on judges, they may have more candidates to choose from as a result of the changes. The cap of how many qualified candidates can be nominated by the joint judicial merit selection panel will be increased from 3 to 6 candidates. Representative Newton said the JMSC is not going to use that process because they have 4 candidates to exclude the best candidate. Could it still happen with 6? Yeah, but it's unlikely when you look at the totality of the races and how many people have historically applied. The compromise also took out changes to how magistrates are screened as well. The makeup of the panel charged with screening candidates also saw some changes, and this is probably the biggest change. Currently, the JSMC has 10 members, 5 appointed by the House, 5 appointed by the Senate, as I mentioned earlier. Under the plan changes, 4 members of the Joint Judicial Merit Selection Committee will be selected by the House, 3 of whom will be representatives, and 1 member has to be a member of the bar with at least 10 years practicing law. The Senate president will have 2 appointments, one of whom is a senator, and 1 member who has to be a member of the bar with at least 10 years practicing law. The Senate Judiciary Chairman would appoint 2 senators to the JMSC. And this is the other big change. The governor will also have 4 appointments, all of whom have to be members of the bar with at least 10 years of practicing law. Again, previously, the governor had no say in this whatsoever. Members of the commission will serve staggered 2-year terms and can serve no more than 2 consecutive terms. That's another good idea, is to term limit these folks. Senator Massey said hopefully it'll be a more vibrant and transparent process in the end. I'm not going to call out any names, but I think it's good to get new people on the commission. I think probably Todd Rutherford might be one of those he's thinking about. Newton said that this change means no JMSC member can screen a judge for a second time when they're seeking re-election. No judge is going to be beholden to anybody, he said. Whether it's real or perceived, it's not there. You don't get to stay long enough to where the judge continues to see you for a generation or have to be good to you. In other business, we finally have a budget for South Carolina. Legislators passed $14.4 billion state spending package that cuts income taxes. It increases state employees' salaries and freezes tuition at public colleges in South Carolina for the 6th consecutive year. Both the House and the Senate easily approved the budget compromise, sending it to Governor Henry McMaster's desk for approval. The spending package also pumps money into the state's tech schools. It pays for improvements to overcrowded juvenile detention centers and designates more than $500 million additional to bridge and road construction. That includes $200 million specifically for projects decided by local governments. Senate Finance Chairman Harvey Peeler said after this funding for our county transportation committees, if you have a pothole in your district, you need to take a look at your county. Look, I hope he's right. I hope that they do get it right this time. Pace praised the budget speeding up of state income tax relief and increased pay for teachers, but he railed against earmark spending on local projects and nonprofits sponsored by legislators, which tally $430 million. Representative Pace said, I think there are some good things in it, but the fact is it still grows the size of state government. It does not shrink it. He specifically called out $900,000 going to the South Carolina Football Hall of Fame to produce inspirational videos of football stars meant to encourage children to do well in school. He also suggested sending $400,000 to the small town of Nice's population 400. Wow, really? For a town museum was not a good use of state taxes. Wonder who got that through. I'd love to go back and see who requested that. I don't even know, where is Nice's, South Carolina? Governor McMaster has until midnight, July the 2nd, a day after the fiscal year starts, to review the spending package and issue line item vetoes on any spending he opposes. The budget will take effect with his veto message. Now, what about vetoes? How does this work? Both chambers voted to override McMaster's veto of a bill that expunges the criminal record of first-time offenders convicted of selling alcohol to anyone under 21. He missed the point, Senate Minority Leader Brad Hutto said, of McMaster's opposition. He said it's eligible for expungement through the normal process anyway. The legislation made law by the chamber's supermajority votes aims to encourage first-time offenders to take a class called a merchant education program rather than simply pay the fine, Hutto said. The Senate also voted to override McMaster's veto of legislation dismissing gun possession charges for those still facing conviction for a now non-existent crime. A law passed earlier this year made it legal for adults to carry a handgun without a permit and allowed past convictions to be expunged, but it left people with pending cases of unlawful carry in limbo. While the Senate unanimously overrode the veto 38-0, the House never took it up. So the veto stands, leaving decisions on whether to drop the pending charges to local prosecutors. Neither the Senate nor the House took up McMaster's veto of legislation allowing for the expungement of convictions for writing fraudulent checks. That leaves McMaster successful on 2 of his only 3 vetoes of the entire year yet. Now, it's going to be interesting to see what McMaster may take his red pencil to and strike out when he comes back with the line item veto. And I want to go back to this idea of the earmarks. And it just astounds me that this small town of Nices, population 400, received $400,000 for a town museum. I'd love to get your comments on the text line. Email me, joe@joeyhudson.com. Do you think we should eliminate earmarks? Should legislators, now I know that their argument is that this helps promote some very good causes. And there are some good causes that are involved in this. But it's also very political. Now, I'm probably going to upset some of my political friends, some of my legislator friends. But I just don't see a place for earmarks in our budget process. Am I wrong on this? Am I missing something with the whole idea that a legislator can request in this case, $400,000 for a museum in a town of 400 people, $900,000 to a South Carolina Football Hall of Fame to produce inspirational videos? Is that how you want your tax money to be spent? Love to get your comments. Maybe you agree. Maybe you think it's a good idea that we spend $900,000 on football videos. Maybe I'm just all wet here, but $430 million total was given away by legislators. Now, I don't know the process. I know that now they do have to submit a request. The process is much better than it once was, but I don't know if how they choose, if legislators with seniority get more or what. Hope you'll join the conversation today. 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Send your comments to the Furman Ford text line. You can leave a quick voice message, and your emails are always welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. Speaking of the Furman Ford text line, it's never been more important to support locally run businesses owned by people who actually live here in the upstate. Let me take a minute to talk with you about our friends at Furman Ford. If you're looking for a new vehicle, maybe a great pre-owned vehicle, one you could trust, or maybe you're looking to order that special vehicle. Either way, if you want a new one, a brand new one, or a pre-owned that you can trust, the folks at Furman Ford, they're there to help you. Their name is on the sign because their name is on the line, because every single transaction is important to them. Jim Furman, Matthew Furman. They do business the right way. When you stop by, when you give them a call, or maybe when you just send them a quick email, you're always going to have access to a member of the Furman Ford family. And by the way, they also offer great service, and you're not going to have to wait weeks and weeks to get it done. And you do not have had to purchase your vehicle at Furman Ford. Doesn't even have to be a Ford. They service all makes and models. Visit my friends at Furman Ford online at furmanford.com, furmanford.com. As we wrap up this final segment of Sunrise Carolina, grab another cup of coffee if you need it and get settled in. Boy, we had some good text messages again. You guys have been really outspoken this week. I'll just leave it at that. A lot of text messages. Yours is welcome as well on the Common Sense Retirement Planning text line, 71307. Comments are always welcome via email as well, joey@joeyhudson.com. Texter says, hey, Joey, it's Jennifer. No crystal ball up here in the foothills regarding November the 5th. I didn't think you had one, Jennifer, and I kind of got in trouble by even saying crystal ball. She says, but I do have 3 ideas about winning this election. 1, people all over this country have to vote and vote early. The momentum will encourage others to vote. Number 2, pray for Donald Trump that God will give him words that will unify us and bring hope as he campaigns between now and November. That's a good one, Jennifer. And number 3, we know that we can vote and we know that God can work, but are the Republicans, powers that be, able to ensure that we have an honest and fair election? That is my worry. All three good points, Jennifer. Appreciate your comment. Texter, this is Faye, says, oh, Joey, praying for Peg. Hope she will watch what she eats. My mom had this, and it is painful. Our prayers as you travel. Thank you, Faye. Yesterday, I asked all of you to pray for Peg. She had some stomach issues, and turned out that she has a bout of diverticulitis. She's never had this before. And, of course, we are trying to get on an airplane later this afternoon to go to Seattle to board a cruise ship tomorrow, the Holland America, where I'll be joining Mike Gallagher and Dr. Sebastian Gorka on our Patriots cruise with about 400 patriotic, conservative people from all around the country. So I'm looking forward to that. And I'm hoping, and we still need to pray, that Peg's going to be able to board that plane later this afternoon. Thank you. Another texter says, praying for Peg. I know that pain. Praying for you both to have a safe trip. Always in my prayers. Thank you. I appreciate that very much. Texter, hey, Joey, for bumper music this morning, I'm wondering if we'll hear Were You Telling Lies from the Beatles the night before? Another thought, Would I Lie to You by the Eurythmics? Now, that's a good one. Good idea. Jeff writes, been on vacation this week, but I still got my Just the Truth with my coffee and sunrise. I'll be watching the debate tonight, but I'll watch from Fox, not CNN. Thanks for all your hard work. You know, you'd never have to be without Just the Truth and Sunrise Carolina. You can listen to both online. Just download the Odyssey app, and you can, no reason for you to miss any of this while you're on vacation. Appreciate that, Jeff. Patty writes, Joey, I believe President Trump has to define what MAGA is and is not. It is not leaving soldiers alone in Afghanistan and leaving American military weapons behind for the enemy. It is not using American taxpayer dollars to pay for undocumented terrorists to enter our country with $10,000. Yada, yada, yada. There's so much that MAGA is and is not. You're very true, Patty. And that's a key, or going to be key, to winning in November. We have to get our message out there. Texter Susan says, I asked my stepdaughter to pray for Peg. I hope she feels well enough by Saturday to go on the Alaska cruise. Thank you, Susan. Again, all of you who offered prayers for Peg, thank you so much. Ray says, good day, Joey. One never knows if the claims made by hopeful political candidates are true. Be that as it may, I voted for Sherry Biggs based on what she claimed. What I hope is that she and all new representatives will live up to these claims and understand that we will be watching and not only can, but will make them one-term office holders if they do not. I know many are disappointed with the outcome of the election. However, we must support our candidates in the general and hold them accountable every day of their term. This is what a representative republic is all about. I love my country and will fight for it till my last breath. Good luck on your cruise and get well pegged. Thank you, Ray. And you're right. Sherry Biggs is going to be the representative in District 3, bar some crazy thing between now and November. So now we have to let her understand what we expect of her. And I think those of you in the 3rd District will do that, and I think she'll be open to listening to you as well. Did you happen to catch the story about McDonald's? We talked about this months ago. McDonald's was testing a plant-based burger. Now, why a company as successful as McDonald's will try to change what has worked for them for all these years, I have no clue. Speaking at the WSJ Global Food Forum, McDonald's USA President Joe Erlinger said that he had asked the team to test the McPlant in 2 very different markets, and they chose San Francisco and Dallas. McDonald's kicked off testing of the plant-based burger in the 2 cities in February 2022 and concluded it after a limited time. It involved about 600 restaurants in total. He said it was not successful in either market, the McDonald's USA president said at the forum. So I don't think the U.S. consumer is coming to McDonald's or looking for a McPlant or other plant-based proteins from McDonald's now. So you had to do a test to figure that out? And he's the CEO of McDonald's? I mean, really? I think I could have told him that. All he had to do was call me, or he could have texted me, or he could have emailed me, joey@joeyhudson.com, And I think I could have saved them a lot of expense and told them that a plant-based burger was not going to do very well as a Big Mac. He said that the fast food giant, which has over 40,000 locations around the world, would continue to monitor the trend, according to the Journal's footage of his remarks. Monitor? What do you need to monitor? The company has introduced the McPlant to various countries in Europe over the years and even permanently added it to the menu in some places like the UK and the Netherlands. Erlinger said during the forum, the bigger trend around protein consumption is really around chicken, and we think we're poised to serve that trend well, and that's where we're making our investments. McDonald's has been leaning further into chicken in recent quarters. He said, we're excited to further build on our success in chicken by continuing to invest in beloved icons like McNuggets and McChicken, while further scaling the emerging favorites like McCrispy and McSpicy, CEO Chris Kempczinski said in February. Those four equities are the building blocks of our growing chicken business, and we see the potential to add another point of chicken share by 2026. And this doesn't make sense to me either. You are a burger joint. Leave the chicken to Chick-fil-A. Stick with the Big Macs. Stick with the Big Macs. McDonald's has continued to roll out its, quote, best burger initiative, various upgrades to its popular burgers to make them juicier and more flavorful. The restaurants around the world, they want nearly all the markets to have the upgraded burgers by 2026, according to the executives, that it hit 80% as of the end of April. Again, don't mess with something that has worked. Why do you do that? Why do companies do that? A plant-based burger. And testing it in Dallas, Texas. one of the states that has the largest beef production. I mean, you've got the Fort Worth stockyards over there. For all you Clemson fans, one final thing here. Could a future national champion quarterback be on the way? It's been a fun few weeks for Trevor Lawrence. Earlier this month, he signed a $275 million deal, making him tied with Joe Burrow for the second highest paid player in NFL history. $275 million for a quarterback. Wow. Well, he and his wife, Marissa, announced on Instagram yesterday that they're expecting their first child. He wrote in a joint post, "A little Lawrence is on the way." In the post, the couple shared 10 photos of a sonogram and of Marissa showing off her little baby bump. Lawrence's deal includes $142 million guaranteed. He became the sixth quarterback, making more than $50 million a year, joining Burrow, Jared Goff, Justin Herbert, Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts. Lawrence is the 14th of top 40 million annually, and he's the youngest on the list. Wow. I went into the wrong business. I should have paid more attention in football practice. That's it for today's edition of Just the Truth. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition Studio. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. If you haven't joined our mailing list yet, visit my website, joeyhudson.com. Just click on the Connect with Joey button so that you can receive our emails and the most up-to-date news. Also, find me on YouTube. Be sure and like, subscribe, follow me on my YouTube channel. Just search for Joey Hudson. Appreciate you spending a few minutes of your day with me. Be sure and forward this edition of Just the Truth to some friends. Just click on the share button. Send it to a few of your contacts, because if we're going to build our community and if we're going to win in November, we got to build an army of conservatives. The way we beat Joe Biden is through educating people, and no better way than encouraging them to listen to Just the Truth. Hey, keep those comments coming via the Furman Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Your emails always welcome as well. Joey@joeyhudson.com. Don't forget to take advantage of the MyPillow special, $25 for the My Towels 6-piece towel set when you use promo code Joey. Just go to mypillow.com. Always use promo code Joey. We're back again tomorrow. Hope you will be too. Remember, God's got this. He's still in control.